If there ever comes a time before you give a presentation where you don't want to present one of your slides, like let's say slide 2, and you don't want to delete it because if you do, you're going to have to probably recreate that later on, or better yet, you don't want to create a second presentation just over that one slide, or perhaps more. In any case, what you can do if you don't want to see slide 2 during the presentation, let me select it, right-click on it, and just hide it. Click on it. And which one of these is not like the other? Well, it's this one because, first of all, you can see the thumbnail is kind of milky there. And then also you got a line through the number. That means it's hidden. Well, not from you in the design view, but during the presentation. So when I begin on slide 1, instead of going to slide 2, it'll skip it and go right to slide 3, Unique Paranormal Research. You want to see it? Alrighty. Let's come up here, click on the Slideshow tab, and start it from the beginning. So when I go ahead and I click the mouse, it goes right to Unique Paranormal Research and it skips slide 2. Oh, isn't that fun? Let's go ahead and hit the escape key. And here's a way around that. Like let's say during the presentation, you're on slide 1 and you've already hidden it and you don't want to go, oh fudge, hold on guys, let me go ahead and go to the design view and right click to unhide that. Instead, during the presentation, if you get like a surge of inspiration, you're like, hey, they really ought to see slide number 2, then this is what you do. So slide 1, from the beginning, folks, what you can do is you can hit the letter H key, and that will reveal the next hidden slide. It only works for the next slide that's hidden. So when I hit H, it advances, and it reveals the hidden slide on our website. And then when I go ahead and hit the space bar, it advances to the third slide, Unique Paranormal Research. Let's go ahead and hit the escape key, and you can do more than one slide. You can go ahead and click on 4 and 5 and right click both of them and hide both of them. Let me go ahead and select the second one and right click all 3 of them that are hidden to, well, it says hide and it's highlighted. That means that they're hidden, but when I deselect it, they go back to their normal color. They're not in the afterlife here where they're faded and ghostly. They got full color. That means when I begin my presentation, it'll be in full view for everybody to see. There may come a time when you're giving a presentation when the audience, they want a copy of your presentation, so when you're giving it, they can take notes and reference like slide 3. If they got something inspirational, they can go ahead and write it next to that slide. Well, we talked about this in an earlier training video, how we can go ahead and print out handouts by coming up here and clicking on the File tab, going down to Print, and then changing it from, the default full page slides and saying, well, there you go, your handouts, 3 slides per page, and you got lines next to each slide that when you print it off, they can go ahead and write in those lines. Well, what if you want to be able to customize this, but you don't want it to show up in the presentation? Well, guess what? You can export this into Microsoft Word, something separate than the presentation, but it can be linked so any updates you make in the presentation will update it in Word along with your customization within Word. Okay, does that sound cool? I'm sold. Let's go ahead and do it. So when you're backstage, to go ahead and export this to Word, just come down from Print down to Export, and then say that you want to create handouts. Select that, and it says Create Handouts in Microsoft Word, and it says you can put slides and notes into a Word document, edit and format content in Word, automatically update slides in the handout when the presentation changes, so you can link it. Any changes you make in PowerPoint will update in the Word handouts. Are you ready? Alrighty, let's go ahead and click on Create Handouts, and you get all these options. The first option is notes next to the slide. Those are the speaker notes. So if you have any notes down below, as we talked about in an earlier training video, that you want to include on your slides, there you go. And then you can go ahead and tweak those notes within the handout without affecting your presentation here. Isn't that awesome? So if there's something that's just for you that you don't want to be part of it, but the majority of it you do, then go ahead and export it. Select notes next to slide and just, delete some of that extra content that you don't want to include in their handouts here. Next is blank lines next to slides. Well, that's what we saw in the handouts, but here, like I said, when you export it to Word, you can customize it. Then you can have notes, again, speaker notes, below each slide. You can have blank lines below each slide, or you can just do an outline. Now, an outline only is, let me click Cancel, what you see up here on the View tab. In the presentation views, the outline view, just this part over here, you just get the outline, okay? So if we go back to normal view, in any case, let's go Backstage File, down to Export, Create Handouts, and we're back. And then you get the option to either copy everything over to Word or create a link, so any changes you make here in the PowerPoint file, it'll update it over in Word. How about if we just do blank lines next to the slides? Okie dokie. Click okie dokie. Give it a second. Hey, there we go. Now, you can see that little tag in the upper left-hand corner. If you're not familiar with Microsoft Word, hey, watch my Word training videos. But that tag is the little tag that when you click on it, it selects the entire table. And that's the table tag. It selects all the cells within the table. And if you actually want to see the boundaries of each cell, so when it comes to editing within the document here, it's a good idea. Come up here and click on the Layout tab, and then go ahead in the table group and click on View Grid Lines. And this is just for you. You don't have to turn them off because they won't print. It's just for you when it comes to, like, typing in some more text here, or maybe clicking and dragging a slide down here so you know how far to go to get into the next cell. Let me go ahead and hit undo that so you can see where your boundaries are. This cell, that cell, and this entire cell with the lines. In fact, you can go ahead and type in some text here if you like, or add some down below. So you can do it that way, or if you want to include speaker notes, let's go ahead and close out of here, and I won't save this. Let's go back to our PowerPoint file. Well, let me go back because if I go to slide 2, there we go, website, handout, ghost keychains. So I do have some speaker notes. So if I click on File, go down to Export, Create Handouts, and wherever it says Notes, I only get 2 options for speaker notes, the right side of the slides or below it. Let's do the right and click, well, let's link it so any changes we make in PowerPoint will update it, and click okie dokie. Give it a second as it freaks out and it tries to add everything all at once. There we go. Hey, looks the same, except now we have our speaker notes. So that way, after I export, I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to include, handout ghost keychains, because that's just for me during the presentation, a prompt to say, hey, at this slide, let's hand it out. So delete it. It's gone. I don't have to retype in anything else like these additional notes. Oh, I better fix my grammar here by deleting the extra space. Now, any changes we make in the PowerPoint file will update here. It's like it says Dreamforce LLC. So if I go back here, and I go to slide 1, and I call it, let me double click, just Dreamforce without the LLC, and I click Save, and I go back to my document. Hey, there's no LLC. Can you see that? I bet you can't. I mean, it's so teeny tiny. I mean, if I went back and deleted everything on it, you probably would notice that because you wouldn't see something that might appear blurry to you. In any case, let's go ahead and go back and click on the text box, delete it, and click on the text box, delete it, click Save. Now you really ought to notice the change. Let's go back to the document. There's nothing there. And then when you're done, you want to be sure that you save your work, because right now it's got a generic name. So come up here and click Save. And we'll navigate to the desktop and call it my Handouts with S Notes, Speaker Notes, and then go ahead and click Save. And just a side note, if you're having struggles working with the table and the cells here, you can remove it, or to learn more about tables, you can watch my word training video on tables. I go to it in greater detail. I want to show you how you can convert your document, like I have here on Yummy Bears, into a PowerPoint presentation. And if you don't know anything about PowerPoint, then I recommend that you watch my training videos on it. But in short, PowerPoint is a presentation program. It does a lot of the same things that Word does, like you can type text, insert images, objects, draw shapes. But the biggest difference is that once you do all that in PowerPoint, you can actually animate any of it, as well as movies and audio, which you can add to PowerPoint as well. So in PowerPoint, I could take my title here, Yummy Bears, and have it fly in from the right, zoom, like that, all animated. And with that sound effect, because it can record my voice, but they have better sound effects that you can use. In any case, you don't want to do too much in PowerPoint, because if that's all you did was all these gee whiz effects, as in gee whiz, look at what I can do, where they fly in, they come in, they fade in, they twist and turn, well, you're going to lose your audience, because they're only focused on either getting dizzy and sick or what next effect is going to be coming up. In any case, what you can see here is the text I want to give a presentation on, but to copy it over to PowerPoint, which I could go ahead and select all of it and copy and paste it into PowerPoint, but instead I want to use the Send to PowerPoint feature, because that feature will only copy over from my document things like bulleted lists and any heading styles that I applied to my text. Now, why doesn't it pull over all the text? The whole purpose of PowerPoint is not to read. That's a Word document. So if you want them to read things, I would recommend go ahead and printing off your document here and using it as a handout, which some people do during presentations. But the presentation, the slides that you show up on the screen, is just supposed to focus on your main points and your subpoints like I have here. So I've got, well, when I click anywhere within the text up here on the Home tab in the Styles group, there you go. There's my heading style 1, the main point, and then the subpoints to the main point, like flavors. That's heading style 2, and that's also heading style 2 as well. And when I select or click within that paragraph, that's normal, so that's not going to pull over. So just the main points and the subpoints, or anything that has a heading style applied to it, and also any bulleted list or numbered list or outline lists. Because again, we're just focusing on main points or key points from our heading styles and also our lists. And then we can go ahead in the PowerPoint presentation, show that up on the screen, and then have some other mediums like audio, a picture, video, and grab their attention more because, well, when I'm a presenter, I notice that my audience, when I put a lot of text up there, they start reading ahead of me going, okay, that's what that's about. I can clock out and not pay attention. So I'll just give them keywords and say, okay, this is what we're talking about, and maybe just a few points like our cookies are bigger. Maybe we want to avoid high fructose corn syrup, so it's not as sweet as normal, things like that. And so it becomes less of a reading, but more of a thinking presentation to have it more interactive. And so we have our main point, Snickerdoodles, heading 1, subpoint, oversight or overbite, supports that heading 2. And then our earnings from our oversight or overbite, well, you can't see it up here because it's not heading 2, it's a subheading to heading 2, which is heading 3, and then of course a subheading to the subheading to the subheading would be heading 4, but we're not doing that. So when I send this over to PowerPoint by using the Send to PowerPoint feature, anything that has a heading 1 style will be the title for every slide. And then in that slide, for the title that's on the slide, Snickerdoodles, all subheadings like heading 2 and heading 3 will be bulleted points, or points that when I cover Snickerdoodles on that slide are the things that I want to talk about. Now when it comes to bullets, well, I got a mix of headings, subheadings, and then the bullets. We'll see how it handles that. It's not as clean than if we just had either heading styles throughout our document or no heading styles and just a bulleted list. We'll see what happens. In any case, to go ahead and send this over, our heading styles and our bulleted list to the PowerPoint program, we need to come up here and add that command to the Quick Access program, which before I do that, you could say, well, can I just copy and paste that over into PowerPoint? Well, you can as far as the main points go, because again, PowerPoint is just the presentation, not an entire document. So we're just presenting main points that we can discuss during the presentation. So you could copy your heading 1 styles and then go over and paste it. But when you use the Send to PowerPoint feature, it does that for you. You may have to rearrange a bit if it's not in the exact place you'd like to see it, but it's there. And you don't have to have 2 separate windows to go from one to copy to paste into the other. So let's come up here and right-click anywhere on the Quick Access toolbar to customize it. And then go from popular commands to all commands, and it gets sorted numerically first and alphabetically. So let's go down to the S's because the first word in the command is send, so hence send to Microsoft PowerPoint. Let's click and drag the scrolly bar. And there it is, send to PowerPoint or Microsoft PowerPoint. Double click on it to add it over to the right, click Okie dokie, adds it to the Quick Access toolbar. And you can see, well, you got your document here, the first icon with the little arrow pointing over to PowerPoint. So it's going to send it over there in a single click. Click. Opens up PowerPoint, and there we go. We have a total of 5 slides. Let's see how it handles it. So on the first slide, like I said, any heading 1 styles are going to be the titles for the slides. So that checks out. But then we've got our subheadings or heading 2 styles under the Yummy Bears, which is flavors. And that's right. But where are the flavors? Well, the bulleted points, it looks like coconut, maple syrup, and chocolate got their own. And, well, the other subheading, because I had 2 for Yummy Bears, flavors, and target audience, got dumped on the last one, but it put the bulleted point as the title for the slide to the subpoint, and so that didn't work out quite the way I'd like it. But in any case, it's up to you how you want to rearrange it. Like I said, when it comes to sending to PowerPoint, when you have a mix of bullets and heading styles, it gets a little bit tricksy there, but it brought it all over, so you can just simply rearrange it if you'd like. In fact, the last slide, slide number 5, when you just have all heading styles, that's how actually it displays it. So the heading style 1 is the title for the slide. Any subheadings to the main heading style are bulleted points. So over in the document, that was heading style 2. And then over in the document, these two for the earnings were heading style 3. So they're sub-bullets to the bullet, which is a sub-point to the main point here. And if we had heading 4 styles, they would be indented over underneath the earnings here. So you'd be able to see the hierarchical structure. So like I said, it brings over the heading styles, the bulleted points, so that way you don't have to copy and paste, and then you can just rearrange them if they're not exactly the way you'd like it over here in PowerPoint. The moment of truth has arrived, and it's time to give your presentation that you worked so hard on putting together now in front of a live audience. All these staring eyes, kind of spooky. I'd rather eat cheese, but hey, since you got to give it, this is how you start your slideshow. You can do it one of many ways. You can either come up here and click on the Slideshow tab and go to the Start Slideshow group, and you can do it from the beginning or from the current slide. Now, from the beginning means that if you're on another slide, like slide 4, capturing ghosts, and you want to start from the very first slide in the presentation, well, just go ahead and click on it, or as it says in the pop-up, use the shortcut key F5. So if I click on it, first slide in the presentation. Oh, that's nice. Hit the escape key so I can show you the other ways of doing this to start your slideshow. You can do it from the current slide, so if I'm on slide 6, and I don't want to start from the beginning, but from the slide that I have selected, the current slide, like it says in the pop-up, you can use the shortcut keys Shift F5. Remember, this is F5, this is Shift F5 to start from that slide. So let me do, well, you can click on it, but I'll do Shift F5 from the current slide. Cool. And in addition to hitting the escape key, you can right-click anywhere, and in the shortcut menu, click on End the Show. So you got your two options here from the beginning, which, by the way, is up here on the Quick Access toolbar. Start from beginning, and again, you can see the pop-up. Or if you want to start from the current slide and you're not up in this neck of the woods and you're on a different tab, I mean, you can use the shortcut keys, Shift F5, or if you're down below on the status bar, there's the slideshow, and that will start on the current slide, slide 6, with these ghosties here. Click on it, and there you go. Now, once you're in the presentation, to advance from one slide to the next, or go to the previous slide, well, we probably ought to start at the beginning. In fact, to get to the beginning of your presentation, if you're in the middle of it, you can do quite a few things. One is that you can go ahead and click on the P for previous and keep hitting P to go to the beginning of the presentation. Okay, there's the first slide in the presentation. And then to advance, instead of going backwards but forwards, you can just use the left mouse button. You can also right-click on the screen, and you can come up here and click Next. Or, as you saw, right-click and go to Previous. Or, as you saw, right-click and go to Last Viewed if you're keeping track of what you see here in the shortcut menu. So you can do it that way. You can also use the letter N as in Nancy for next, or you can hit the Enter key on the keyboard to advance the next slide, or you can use the right arrow key to go forward, left arrow key to go back, down arrow key to go forward, up arrow key to go back, page down to go forward, page up to go back. Whew, I'm just getting all worn out here. You can also use the backspace key to go back in the presentation, and you can use the spacebar to advance to the next slide. Now, if that's not good enough and you want to kind of jump around here, you can right-click anywhere, and you get the shortcut menu with the mouse visible, and you can click on to see all slides. There you go. Of course, everybody else will see this on the screen here. If you're projecting it up on the wall, they'll see it there, or another screen. And you can see the current slide you're on is highlighted, and you can look around really quick and go, quick, let's go to the ghost. Click on the ghost and it goes right there. Cool. You can also, if you've got your presentation memorized, like, let's see, slide 6 has the ghost. That's the one that I'm on. And let's see, what's slide 2? Well, if you want to jump to it, hit number 2 on the keyboard and hit Enter, and it takes you right to it. Oh, isn't that fun? Let's go to 8, hit Enter, and ooh, there we go. Our ghost hunting revenue. Now, if you want to go to the beginning of the presentation, another way of doing it is holding down both mouse buttons at the same time for about 2 seconds or until the computer beeps. Hold them both down and there we go, slide 1. Okay, how about shortcut keys like Control S? Hey, this is nice. It shows all slides. So I can quickly look at the titles and go, oh, that's right. Ghost hunting revenue, slide 6. Let's click on Go To. And there it is. And let's do Control S again. You can see the last slide you viewed was slide 1. So, hey, it keeps track of where you've been and where you're at and where you're going by selecting it and clicking on Go To. Cool. Now, let me hit the Escape key to end the presentation because as you recall in an earlier training video, we talked about how you can hide your slides by right-clicking on it in the thumbnail preview and hiding it. And it shows over here that it's faded, it's ghostly, it's in the netherworld, and it's got a line through it to say, hey, you may see it here, but it's not going to display in the presentation when you go ahead and start your slideshow. So when I go from slide 1, it'll go down to slide 3, which is Unique Paranormal Research. So again, slide 1, let's go ahead and hit the F5 key on the keyboard to start from the beginning, and then click, and it jumps right to Unique Paranormal Research. So it bypassed that second slide. Now, as you recall, in the earlier training video, let me hit the P key, previous, and it goes past the hidden slide to the first slide, is that when you're next to a hidden slide, you can hit the H key, and it advances to that hidden slide. Now, you can do that, or let me go ahead and hit P for previous to go to the first slide. You can also do Control S, and it will show you right here, anything in parentheses is a hidden slide. So when you're giving your presentation, you're like, okay, what slide is about on our website? Oh, that's supposed to be hidden. Okay, don't show that. Or, you can select it and go right to it, and that works. And let's go ahead and hit the Escape key to end that, and we can right-click on that, and let's go ahead and deselect Hide Slide, so it's now in our world and not some other faded world here where it's got this ghostly, milky film here. And then next, if you want to be able to jump around in your sections, remember how you can add sections like section 1 through 4, add another section between 4 through 5. In any case, let's start and say from 4 on. Let me right-click in between the two. And if you don't know how to add sections to your presentation, then you want to watch my training video on it. But let me right-click and go down to Add a Section. And this is, well, the pop-up says I can rename it. So Process or Process, hit the Enter key. There's that section from 4 on. But as you recall, since I did it from that point on, the 3 up above will belong to a default section because they can't be by themselves. It's all or nothing. If you group or put into a section some slides, the ones that you didn't add to a section or group will automatically be added to its own generic one. And we can right-click on that and say rename it and call it our About Us section, hit Enter. And now watch what happens when I go ahead and hit the F5 key and begin my slideshow. And I right-click and I go down to See All Slides. Hey, I can now see my sections. It's got it labeled over here and also up at the top for the first slide in this section. And it's got this section group beginning with the process. And you can go ahead and jump right to that section. And it highlights the first slide in that section. So you can say, okay, this is about us, somewhere in the process section. I know we got paranormal investigation details. Click on it. Cool. So you can navigate by sections or at least have them viewable when you right click. Well, you can't see my pointer. When I move it really fast, it stays up for about maybe a couple of seconds, then it disappears. If you want your pointer to always show during the presentation, then after you begin your presentation, right click and go to Pointer Options and then go over and down. Okay, we'll cover these later, just a minute. Arrow Options, and it's automatic, meaning that it will, after a few seconds, disappear. I always want it visible, or you can always have it hidden no matter how much you move the mouse around. But if I select Always Visible, if I hold my mouse still for a few seconds, it'll still be there. You can also right-click and go down to Screen, and you can make your screen entirely black if you want to do a demonstration with flashlights or something that you don't need this light projecting on the wall or on your monitor. So go to black. Ooh, spooky. And then to bring it back, you can right-click and go to Screen Options, and you can unblack the screen, or let's unblack it. And you can right-click, and of course the other option was go to widescreen if you need a lot more light so people can see what they're writing down. You want to take a break or something, and you don't want people tripping over each other as they're trying to make their way to the exits. So widescreen, oh wow. Now you can do it that way, or let's go ahead and right click and go to screen and unwhite. The shortcut keys are W and W to go back, B for black, and hit the B key to go back. Let's see what else we got when we right click that's fancy. Let's go down to pointer options. How about laser? Pew pew! Click on it and oh, don't hit me in the eyes. No laser surgery, and that will always stay up there until of course you right click and you go to pointer options and you deselect it. Now you can do a temporary laser by holding down the control key and clicking on the left mouse button, and there you go, temporary, and then let go of the control key and the left mouse button. And you can right click. What other options we got? Pointer. Ooh, let's do a pin. Click on it. And the default color is red. Oh, that's kind of trippy. That's not working for me. To get rid of all that, hit the E key to erase. And you can right click and go to more pointer options, including the ink color, which let's do yellow. Select that. And that's our revenue. Isn't that fancy? Let me go ahead and hit the E key to erase that. And let's right click and go to the pointer options, deselect the pen. You can also highlight. Let's right click, pointer options, and highlight, and just keep brushing it over Ghost Hunters so it's in yellow right there. That's a nice highlight. Ooh, let me hit the E key to erase that, and then right click to go ahead and pointer options to deselect it. And then if you want to see all the shortcuts, some of which I haven't covered, hit the F1 key on the keyboard, and there you go. I just revealed my secrets. But you can only do this during the presentation, not in the design view. So you have your general shortcuts like N, left click, space, right arrow to advance the next slide, or P, backspace to go to the previous slides. You see some of these things that we already covered. Look, zoom out of a slide or zoom in. Well, that sounds kind of fun. Should we try that? Well, before we do that, let's go ahead and cover the others really quick. Rehearse, record. So when you want to re-record slide narration and timing, which we'll cover in a later training video. Media. So you have your shortcut keys there to play or pause. And then ink laser points, well, Control P to change your pointer pen so you don't have to right click during the presentation to be able to change it. And then touch, if you got a touch screen, well, swipe forward to advance the next slide or animation. Oh, that's fun. Let's go ahead and close out. Now to zoom, let's right click and go to zoom in. And then you get this temporary window that wherever you click on it, whoa, zooms in. Wasn't that fun? And then if you right click, it zooms back out. Cool. Now, in addition to all that I just showed you, I'll see my pointer's disappearing. Let me right click. Oh, I wish I knew the shortcut options to keep it up. Let's go ahead and, if I memorized it, visible. And you get everything down below that we pretty much went over. So instead of right clicking, there's your next, back. Here, when you click on it, is your laser pointer pin, highlighter, different color options. And then let me click off. Oh, we advanced. And then we've got our show slides. Click on it. It shows all the slides, including the different sections. And there's the About Us section here, the Process section. You can quickly select one, go right to it. And then you have your zoom. Click on it. You get a window that when you click, it zooms in right in on it. And then right click to zoom out. And let's click off. And then you've got your ellipsis or build button to see more options, which you can go to your last view slide. Show presenter view, which we covered in an earlier training video, screen arrow options, help, or let's end it now. Before we do that, if you didn't watch my Windows training video on the most popular shortcuts, that when you're giving a presentation, that if you hold down the Alt key and hit Tab, it brings up a little tiny window that shows all the other open programs or windows that are available. So if you're like, okay, I got to temporarily get out of PowerPoint and go to my exercises folder, if you push the Tab key, notice how it toggles through all 4 options. So the first one is the presentation that's currently being displayed right here. And you see over here the PowerPoint program. Okay, I'm probably getting you sick because when I move my mouse over it to point it out, it actually reveals it. So when I hover off of it, it goes back to what you can see that's highlighted here. In any case, hold down the Alt key and hit Tab. And if you keep the Alt key held down, you can tab through everything else that's open or available on your computer. And then when you get to it, you can see it's highlighted on the desktop, and let go of the Alt key, it goes right to the desktop. So you can hold down the Alt key again and then hit Tab, and it pulls back up this little window so you can tab really quickly to like the program, let go of the Alt key, make some changes. The presentation is still up. Hold down the Alt key because when you hit the Tab key, there you go, let go, we're back to the presentation. Now, that's one thing you can do to zip around if you have other windows that are open that you quickly want to go to on your computer to be able to start a video or something else, but you can embed the videos into PowerPoint, which we'll go over in a later training video. But with the Alt-Tab key, if you do it quick enough, Alt-Tab, it'll go to the last thing that you were viewing. So Alt-Tab, from the presentation, Alt-Tab, right to the design view, Alt-Tab, back to the presentation. Isn't that fun? Well, those are some shortcut keys that I wanted to go over with you, even though that's another training video in Windows on shortcuts. You can watch that training video to get a little bit more on the popular shortcuts in Windows. But this is to help you if you need to quickly jump outside and see something on your desktop without ending the presentation. You can actually convert these objects into links, or the text when you click on it can open up something on your computer, so that way you don't even have to Alt-Tab. But nonetheless, I wanted to give you options. Any presentation you create, it's going to have a slide master. It's the master of all the slides. So anything that he says or that you tell it to do, it will enforce it across all the slides in your presentation automatically. And that can save you a lot of time. So for example, I've got my 2 slides here, but let's say that I had 50 slides. And I want to be able to include our company logo and name on every slide. Well, if I didn't know anything about the slide master, I would insert the logo and then also type in the company name and then select that, copy it, paste it on slide 2, paste on slide 3, paste, oh, that's just a mess. That takes too long. Instead, let's go to the slide master view and put it there on the master, and it will automatically pull that in on all slides within our presentation. So to go to the master, come up here, click on the View tab, go to the Master Views group, and it's right there, the Slide Master. Now you have a Handout Master and Notes Master, but right now we just want to focus on our slides, and you can see when I hover over it in the pop-up, it's the Slide Master view. And in that view, you're going to have master slides that control the look of your entire presentation, including colors, fonts, backgrounds, effects, and just about everything else. You can insert a shape or logo on a slide master, for example, and it will show up on all your slides automatically. Again, can save you a lot of time, especially when you have a lot of slides and you want something across all the slides within your presentation. So let's go ahead and click on Slide Master, and this is one way to get to the Slide Master view. Click on it, and there you go. You get a new tab called Slide Master to let you know that, well, 1, you're in the Slide Master view, and 2, all the commands and features that are proprietary to that view. And then to close out of the view, well, come over here and click Close, and you're back in the normal view. Now there's a shortcut to get to the Slide Master, and that's by coming down below on the status bar. And I know it says we're in the normal view because it's highlighted, and then when you hover over it, it pops up normal. But when you hold down the Shift key, normal disappears. With the Shift key held down, when you click on it, hey, we're back to our Slide Master view. And then of course you don't have to click on Close, you can just come down here and click on Normal. Well, don't hold down the Shift key, just click on Normal, and we're back to the normal view. Now like I said, any changes that you make in the Slide Master will update all the slides. In fact, you can see that when I click on my logo here and I try to select it, can't do it. Can't even do that on the text GOPS. Why? Because it didn't originate in this view. It's on the master. So if I want to make any changes to it or add additional things to propagate on all the slides within my presentation, got to go to the master. So let's come down here, hover over normal, hold down the Shift key, click on it, and we're back to the master view, which looks a lot like the normal view. I mean, you got your thumbnail previews and then your working area. But what are all these slides over on the left-hand side here? That's more than I have within my presentation of 2. Well, let's scroll to the top, and of all the slides, you have 1. That's your big one, the head honcho, and that's the master of all the masters. And in the pop-up, it says Apex. Now that's the name of the theme that's being applied to the master here that updates all the slides down below, or these submasters, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. And then it says the name of that is, well, let me go back off and go back on, is the Slide Master, and it's used by slides 1 through 2, and I only have 2. So the master slide updates every slide throughout your presentation, where the submasters only update a specific layout or a slide that has that specific layout within your presentation. So when I hover over this one's the master of the title slide layouts. And you can see it's used by slide 1. And then this one down below is for the title and content layouts. So anytime I insert a slide that has a title and content, if I select it, come over here, make changes to it, it'll update that and any other slide within the presentation that has that layout, title, and content. Well, you remember, don't you? Back in an earlier training video when we learned how to insert slides, the different types of layouts. That's all these are here, is those that are available when you insert, that these are the master of those layouts. So I call them the submaster because they're just proprietary to that specific layout, where this master tells all the layouts to get into line with whatever it says. So select it, and here's the master of it. In fact, you can see when I hover over the ghost, I can select them, resize them, move them around, and put them wherever I want, and it propagates on all the layouts. So if I, delete them, you can see disappears from all the others down below. Well, let me go ahead and hit undo because I want them back. But remember, as a quick review, that when I want to insert a slide, well, I can't do it with the slide master open. For example, if I go to the Home tab even and click on New Slide, can't create new slides. So I've got to close out of the slide master here, and I can do that by coming over here and click on Close Master View. And then I can come here to the Home tab to the new slide, click on it, and there you go. Well, first off, you have the theme name, Apex, and we'll go over themes in another training video. And then down below, the different layouts that we talked about, that we have a master for each layout, or the submaster to the master in the slide master view. So you've got a master for the title slide layout, you've got a master for the title and text layout, and then you have the master of them all. So if you want to update all the layouts, well, go to the big guy, the number 1, in the master view. So let's do that. Let's go back and hold down the Shift key and click on Normal, and come back and scroll up. And you can see the line that's connecting from the master to all the different master layouts or submasters. Because it's a hierarchical structure, they're all connected to the main guy here, so whatever he says goes, and it updates all the others. Otherwise, you can break away and just say, okay, just update it proprietary to this layout, and only these layouts that I have within my presentation. So with it selected, this is the title, and we've got our title up above, and then we have the subtitle. So if I want my title slides to have a different type of style, go ahead and select the text to show and apply the different styles that you want to apply to the title slide layout. And after you select it, you can change the font type, add italics, underline. Let's do the color red. In fact, let me click off of that and do something even kookier. Let me click on the border and drag the title down and put the subtitle. I know you're not supposed to do this. Subtitles don't come before titles, but what I want to show you is that when you make changes, some of the changes will be updated automatically and some will only take effect when you create a new slide. So for example, this has everything to do with the title slide layout. Hover over it and you can see it's used by one slide, and so let's go ahead and go to the normal view and see what it looks like. Okay, so it automatically affected and changed the color of the title, but it didn't rearrange the title to go down below with the subtitle to have it up above. So like I said, some changes will update automatically, some changes won't take effect until you create a new slide. So if I want to create the same slide here, slide 1 for slide 2, then let's just come up here and click on New Slide and go down and, oh, there you go. You see that thumbnail? The subtitle, the big, thick, blocky box is up at the top, and the title, the skinny, long rectangles down at the bottom. Well, go ahead and click on it, and there you go. We get the red, and now with the new slide, we also get the flip. And so it won't affect slides that we already had previous to this session, because before I started recording, I already had this created. And so now that I open this up and it's a new session, it looked at this and it said, we're not going to rearrange those text boxes and apply it to every title slide you have in the layout. We'll just go ahead and quickly apply the color. In any case, let's go ahead and hit undo several times and undo everything. And then let's go ahead and do it for the master. So we got the master selected, so it's supposed to update every slide within the presentation by updating every layout. And in fact, I don't think it's going to update every layout, at least not in this theme, because you can see that it's not doing that already, because the color for each title is purple, right? And it propagates and goes down to the sub-masters here, all except this guy right here. Let me hover over him. That's gold. That's section header layout, and then also down to this guy right here, which is the content with caption layout. See, it's not in purple. In any case, let's go ahead and scroll back up, select the master. Let's go ahead and click and drag and change it to red. and then go to the normal view, and it updates the first slide. Doesn't update the second slide with red, but with it selected, hitting the Enter key on the keyboard, any new slides that I add from this point forward, it will have it here because, hey, I see red. Well, if you want one final example to kind of hit this home, let's go back down to the master view. Well, normal, hold down the Shift key, then to master, and scroll all the way to the top. Click on the master of all these subs here, and let's go ahead and insert. Come up here, click on the Insert tab. Let's do an online picture, and let's do a happy ghost. Hit Enter. I have my particular favorite happy ghost, and it's this guy right here. Ooh, I like him. He's got a nice smile. Check, click Insert. Oh, and he's huge. And did you see that? Updated on every single slide. Well, let's make sure. Oh yeah, he's happy on every single submaster layout. And of course, you can select him, hover over one of the resizing handles, push him in, and then pull them out of the way, because I think all the other submasters or layouts don't have anything over on the left-hand side, so that was my choice. And even if it did, I mean, you can go ahead and rearrange these, and it will affect that layout. So your title, and I think it's to content, let me hover over it. Yeah, to content layout. You can go ahead and rearrange this. You can go ahead and change the bullets when you get to that point. So when you click, and it's using that blocky bullet for that text box, well, you can come up here. Let's click on the Home tab and go to the paragraph group. You can change the bullet, and you can change it to arrows. And so that's going to affect the to content layout. So anytime we add it, it won't have a square as we had it, as you can see over here, but a nice looking arrow. And then let's go ahead and view this in the normal view. And oh, he's happy to be part of the presentation here. By default, you only get one slide master. If you want an additional slide master, well, come up here if you're in the slide master view, go to the slide master tab to the edit master group, and then click on Insert Slide Master. Now, why would you want to have 2, 3, 4 more slide masters? One reason is that if you want an additional theme, you need to know that the slide master, well, this guy, the master of all the others down below, those submasters, can only handle one theme. And the current theme that's being applied to the master that updates all the submasters is, as you can see in the pop-up, Apex. And you can find that over here on the Slide Master tab in the Edit Theme group. It's right there. Click on Themes, and there it is. Hover over it, and it says Apex in the pop-up, and it's used by all slides. So don't think that, well, with this submaster selected for the title slide layout, that you can come in here and go, hey, I'll just apply it so only the title slides will have something, what's that? Spiffy. Oh, I like that. So if you click on it thinking that, forget it. Again, the slide master can handle only one theme, and when you think that you're applying it to one of the submasters, no, it actually goes to the master and updates all the submasters. So if you weren't watching this training video, you'd think if you had 100 slides in your presentation and you're trying to break it up, like maybe the first 50 have one theme or background color, fonts, and effects, and then the last 50 another type of theme, well, you'd be at a loss. But instead, I'm going to show you, let's go ahead and hit undo, that you can add, scroll back up to the top, another slide master. Now when I insert another master, basically it's going to have the same slide master for that second master group. I'll call it the second master group because this is the first one. And it'll essentially have the same submaster layouts like for the title slide layout and for the title and content and so on. So to go ahead and insert a slide master, well, come up here in the Edit Master group, click on Insert Slide Master, and there you go, number 2, and you'll notice it's naked. It's got the Emperor's new clothes. It's got no coloring, background, fonts, or effects. Well, we're going to go ahead and fix that in just a minute. But before I can come up here and quickly and eagerly click on the drop-down arrow for themes and apply a theme, you need to know that, you see that little push pin next to it? Hover over it. It says, this master is preserved. What's that about? Well, if you come back up here in the Edit Master group and hover over the highlight Preserve, you can see in the pop-up, preserve the selected master so that it remains with the presentation, even if it's not used. And it's not being used because I just barely inserted it. So it's trying to preserve it from being removed. In other words, PowerPoint's saying, look, if you're not going to use anything within like the second master, either like one of these slides, you can go ahead and tweak. I mean, it's the same thing, title slide layout to what's up here. Hover over it, title slide layout. So that brings up a good point. It's not just about backgrounds and themes, but you can have a different title slide to choose from if you select it and can make some tweakages over here, some changes that is. But let's keep it simple. Let's just talk about the background color. So with that preserve on, it's telling me that I cannot apply or make any changes to it without unpreserving it. If I deselect preserve, unpreserve it, because it's not currently being used in the normal view, applied to any of the slides, PowerPoint's going to want to delete it. And it will prompt you. It won't delete it. It'll say, can we go ahead and delete this? You're not using it. And you'll say, no, I just barely inserted it, but thanks for asking. And then you can go ahead and apply a theme to it. And then once you apply a theme, then you go to the normal view and update that to one of the slides, and you're good. So let's go ahead and do that first before we do anything else. So if I ignore this, the preserve, and leave it preserved, highlighted, and I come over here with this selected going click on themes, and what's this? There we go. Oh, that's spiffy. I like that. And I go ahead and click on that, and it updates it. Wait, it didn't update it. You see what happened? It added an additional slide master number 3. What happened to the second slide master? Well, it's preserved. It can't handle any changes, so it just reverts and says, fine, hey, I'm passing the buck. I'm preserved. Go get somebody else, and that somebody else came in. So let's go ahead and hit undo. So what we need to do is when you see it preserved, come up here and deselect it, and then it prompts you. It says, hey, look, you're not using this. Can we delete it? No. We just wanted to start using it. So with the master selected, we can come up here, click on themes, and say we want something spiffy. And there you go. And that's it. It's not currently being used in the presentation, but that's okay, because when I close out of here, as long as I'm in the same session basically, and I haven't closed out of the program, I can, well, let's come up here to the title slide, right click on it, and let's go down to change the layout, and hey, looky there. We got the original master, the Apex theme, and their layouts, and then down below, our spiffy slide master. Well, it's the theme that's being applied to these submasters here, and there's the title slide. So if I select that one, oh, that's fun. Did you see that? It applies just to the one and doesn't update all the others because that one is based upon the second master, and these two are on the first. So you can cherry pick. You can say, okay, I want slides 1, 3, 5, and 20 to be tied to that master with any, background colors or themes, as you see here, and any other changes that you could do, the layouts, those submasters, for that second slide master. But I digress. Let's keep it simple here. So you can go ahead and right-click and update those slides. And also when you want to add a new slide, well, there you go. Something spiffy, you can choose from that, or you can come down here and choose from the second slide master or the options, colors, fonts, and effects, and layouts underneath slide master 1. And you know what? You actually don't have to have these names here, spiffy and apex, because when I'm giving a presentation, it doesn't make sense, or when I hand it off to somebody else and they're not familiar with what these are used for, you can actually rename these and say, okay, instead of spiffy, you could say this is for the first part of the presentation, maybe about what we do, how we do it. Then this is for the second part about donations. So I'll show you how to rename those in just a second. Let me go ahead and click off. Now, if I go back to the slide master, because we have that second master being applied to this first slide, it's being used in the presentation. I come down here, hold down the shift key, click on normal, and I scroll up. You can see when I hover over it, slide master used by one slide, and more specifically, it's the submaster that has the layout being applied to it. So yes, it's got the theme from the slide master, and it has the layout from the master of that layout, the title slide layout. And so if I come up here and I select it, and I preserve it, I unpreserve it, it's not going to freak out and say, hey, we want to delete it because it's actually being used in the presentation. Now, this is a warning. If you unpreserve it, and you go back and you remove all of the slides that have the Slide Master 2 applied to it, well, I mean these like the title slide layout, and it's not preserved, it'll wipe this clean. Let me show you. Let's come down here, click on the normal view, and well, I only have one, but if I right click on it and I go, nah, I'm not going to use the second master here, the title slide, I'm going to go ahead and come back and use this one right here, select it. Okay, it flips it because I was messing with it earlier, as you remember. And then I'm like, okay, that's nice. And I go back to hold down the shift key and click on the normal so we can go to the master view. Is it here? No, it's gone. Oh, I just wasted all that hard work. Well, I warned you, and hopefully this training video is a good example of what not to do if you want to keep it. So whenever you insert a new slide master and you unpreserve it to work on it, and you apply it in the normal view, it's probably best before you go to the normal view that you check preserve. Now if I go ahead and hit undo, and it's back, and then I come back and I hover over normal, click on the shift key. What I'm saying is that you may want to come here, select it, and preserve it. So that way it's locked. Well, it's locked. You can't make any changes to it. That's fine. But that way, maybe days later when I come back and I'm not in the master view and I'm not really thinking about it, and I go to the normal view and I'm like, I just don't want this here. Let me right click and then go down to layout and let me just go back with the title slide here. And I go, oh no, did I just lose it? No, because you had it locked or preserved. Hold down the shift key, click on normal, and scroll down, and whew, we're good. It's still there. So it's a good idea to basically think of it like a lock. Insert the next slide master, make your changes, lock it. You need to make changes, unlock it. After you're done making changes, quickly lock it. That way, if you remove it from all the slides in the presentation, it doesn't get lost in case if you want to use it at a later time. Always preserve it. Hey, in this case, it's good to have preservatives. And so, as you can probably see by now, it's not just about the background colors, fonts, and effects, but it's also picking which slide that you want to go with. Like for this layout title slide, you can come in here and make some changes and, say, okay, I like this in red. I'd like it to be a lot bigger, bold. And then maybe for some slides, you want that title slide. And then for other slides, you want, that you're going to use the title slide, you want it flipped where the title slide is, way at the top, away from the subtitle down below, and you're moving that around. So you have two different title slide layouts to choose from, including the background colors and the fonts and the effects. And so that way, again, let's go to the normal view, and I right click on it. That's what I currently have. And if I'm like, no, let me go with that title slide, go ahead and select it, and just know, let me go ahead and select it, and wow, that gets bigger and it gets more annoying. That red's really bleeding. Quick, undo, undo. And did I have it preserved? Well, then we go back to square one, because if I didn't, I would have lost it all. And in essence, if you wanted to, you could have two slide masters with the same, themes, background, colors, fonts, and effects, and just say, okay, for the first slide master, I want the title slide layout to be arranged this way, and then I want a second option for other title slides within my presentation to be arranged another way. So you could, when you right click on it and go down to layout, you could have, again, the two themes that are the same, but with, variations with the title slide for the layouts. So you may have 5 titles throughout the presentation. You want to have something that introduces from that point forward based upon a different master. Now, I did talk about how you can go ahead and rename these. So let's rename them from Apex to say, okay, for this slide master, that will be for our what is GOPS. And so when we're talking about what we do, how we do it, and this one will be for donation to GOPS. So from slides, 3 on, we don't have that many slides. We could say, let's just apply something that's softer and not so spooky. So to go ahead and rename that, so when you're working on this, making changes or inserting new slides, you don't look at it and go, what is Apex? In any case, again, that's the name of the theme, but we can change that. Hold down the shift key, click on normal, and let's scroll up and right click on the first slide master and come down to rename. And there you go, Apex. Now this is for about GOPS, and click rename. So let's scroll down here and right click and go down to rename. And it's, of course, it's spiffy, but we want to say donate to Ghosts or Paranormal Society rename. And then we're good. Let's go ahead and come down here in the status bar, click on normal. And when I want to insert a new slide or right click to change it, well, click on it either way. And hey, all these slides and layouts is for About Us. When I get to another section that talks about donations, and it could be a literal section. We talked about that in an earlier training video, or just from this point in our slides, like slides 3 on, we'll be using anything in here when it comes to talking about donating to us. Because we can have 5 slides, like the first slide, hey, we need your donations, slide 4, this is how much we need, and slide 5, this is where you can donate, and just use the same slide master here. It submasters the different layouts and themes, colors, fonts, and effects. You want to make sure you watch the previous training video on Slide Master because this is an extension of it. So if you want this to make sense, you want to watch the previous training video. In this one, we're going to learn how to add background graphics to a Slide Master. I say a Slide Master because, as you recall in the previous training video on Slide Master, you have two different types. You have the Slide Master that when you update that, it updates all the slides and the different types of layouts within your presentation. If you want to focus on a specific type of layout, you can go ahead and go to its master for that type of layout and make changes to that. Because, as you recall, when you click on New Slide, you have all the different types of layouts. So you have the big head honcho master that when you update him, affects everybody else and propagates to all these different types of layouts. But if you just want to be able to affect, like, say, change the background for the title slide layout, you go to the Slide Master view and go to the master of this guy right here, title slide, and make the changes there. So, come with me, good neighbor, because you're probably asking, well, in the previous training video, I tried to update the background. Well, yes, but that was in regards to a theme, and a theme applies to all the slides. It's not just to one. So I'm trying to separate that and say, look, we can't get away from updating everything when using the themes to change in the background, but you can if you want to use the background feature and not use themes at all. Let me show you. Let's come down here on the status bar, and you see where it says normal? Again, previous training video. Hold down the Shift key, the normal text disappears, and then click on it, and we're in the Slide Master view. Scroll up to the top, and remember, when you come up here and you want to apply a theme, or even any elements that make up a theme like the colors, fonts, and effects, when you click on it, and you've got a specific type of layout, the master of that layout, the title slide layout, you see that? It's popped up and it says it's being used by slide 1. That when you come over here and you hover over it, you get a preview of it, and when you click on it, it's not going to go with the selected submaster layout, that title slide layout. It updates everybody, and that can be frustrating. So here I want to show you that, hey, if you just want to apply it to one type of layout, the background, and not have to add another, well, second slide master, as we talked about in the previous training video. So we can have one type of theme for all those slides for Slide Master 1 and another type of theme for the second Slide Master and all its subs. So no. This way, if you're okay with not using themes, because what choice do you have if you want to be able to focus just on one type of layout here, the master of that layout, then come with me, good neighbor. Well, let me hit undo, and let's go ahead and come up here. And the secret is the background, formatting the background. Now there's 3 ways that I want to show you to be able to access the background and to change it. One way is to come up here in the background group, click on background styles, and well, let's see, when you hover over it, that's style 2 and that's style 6. I mean, if you like those, great. Just go ahead and click on it, and it only updates the background of the selected submaster, the master of the title slide layout, not the title and content layout, or not the master, which would affect all the others. So you can do it that way, but then, come on, that's very mono here with the type of things that we can do, because you got additional options. You can come down here and click on Format Background. Opens up the Format Background task pane. You can do it that way, or in the background group, click on its expandable dialog box button, opens up the same task pane, or close out. If you find a blank area, right-click on it, and then go down to Format Background, opens up the same window. So you get all these different options, and by the way, if you applied something to your submaster, like as we just did, and you're like, I want to go back to the way it was. Well, over here in the task pane, come down below and reset the background, and it goes back to, well, looking like everybody else, to what it was originally before we made the change. So over here you can choose your solid fill. That again only applies to your selected submaster for this title slide layout. And if you're like, hey, that's pretty cool, I want to update it to all the others, well, you can go ahead and click apply to all, and then you can see it updates all the others. And I'm like, nah, let's go ahead and undo that and just keep it tied to this one. And you can also do gradient, picture. Ooh, let's see, picture. And come down here and you can insert a picture from a file on your computer or network or online. Let's do it from on my computer. Let's see what we got. Let's go to the pictures, sample pictures. Well, that one's a lighthouse. That could be pretty cool. because, you know, lighthouses can be haunted. Let's go back and see if I've got anything else like an HP or, well, let me double click on that one. Yeah, it looks kind of spooky. Maybe we got a rocky beach or part of the shore that's haunted and somebody caught something there. In any case, if you like the background, well, you may have to update the text and the ghosts, or better yet, you may have to update the text if it doesn't pop out because it's too dark. What you can do, though, that may look cool, is over here you can mess with it, like the transparency. Click and drag that to make it more transparent. Alright, so far that's looking pretty good. Well, except for the subtitle here. That's white text against a bleached background or washed out. Doesn't bold it out, so we can select it. Let's click on it, make it black. Click off. Okay, that seems to work. Great, and then all we have to do, because this one is currently applied, as you can see when I hover over, the title slide layout here is used by slide 1. So come down here, click on normal. There you go. There's slide 1, not slide 2, not slide 3. So there's a way to get around that as long as you're okay with not using themes because it updates everything. Well, since I already had it in purple here, what I did in the slide master of the title slide layout will only affect new slides, so I have to come back in here and there we go, make the text black. Okay, that pops. Great. And then finally, what is it going to look like when I print this off? Well, let's go ahead and hold down the Control key and hit the letter P to go backstage, Control P, and it's not there. Well, of course it's not because I'm in grayscale, at least for me here, because I have a black and white printer, so the default here is grayscale. But when I click on it, if I change it to color, there we go. And it's still a black and white printer, but that's okay. At least I'm now able to print it off and include it, albeit in black and white. If I can go ahead and get a color printer, well, that would look even fancier. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.